We are now living in perhaps one of the most difficult yet most interesting period in history. If we look at the last century, there were several moments like what we are experiencing now, where the old order fray and the new order is emerging, yet hasn't emerged yet. Between 1914 and 1918, during the First World War. Between 1939 to 1945, Second World War. Between around 1968, during the crisis in Europe, during the various protests about Vietnam War, up to the oil crisis in 1973, 1974. Okay, including the time that the US withdrew from Bretton Woods, and also what they call recalibration or rapprochement with China. And we are probably more like we are in 1989 to 1991-92, when Berlin Wall collapsed and the USSR ended its reign. So we are in that sort of period where old system, old assumption, old ideas no longer work. But we are searching for new solutions. We are searching for a new order. What are we facing? We are facing a period of time where suddenly we realize there's something called pandemic. I mean, the world has forgotten the idea of pandemic and how detrimental it could be. Even SARS was a distant memory, but now we experience the full impact of a pandemic. We are dealing with a situation of financial instability. Over the last 18 months, we have seen unprecedented rate hike by US Federal Reserve. And this has not been seen at least for 20, 25 years, if not more. And of course, inflation, that we have faced inflation. We have also seen war, which many people thought it was a distant memory, especially on European continent. So we have seen Brexit, we have seen Trump, we have seen war in Ukraine, we have also seen what they call now, what is happening now in the Middle East. These are all scary events that we have thought would be distant memory. And of course, we are also dealing with a climate crisis. We're also dealing with a climate crisis, and all this, the World Economic Forum calls it polycrisis, where it all comes together and is interconnected. It is interconnected because some of the crises or some of the problems that happen, for example, financial instability as well as political upheaval in some parts of the world, particularly in Europe, in America, has a lot to do with inequality. Has a lot to do with inequality, has a lot to do with low pay over the ages. And of course, climate is also a challenge that are intertwined. So how do we deal with it? We need everyone to come on board. I give you the high-level stuff, but there are also practical stuff that we have to do together. And this is where I think the Prime Minister and this government has tried to outline a series of policy documents. I would say there are at least 5 very important policy documents, starting with the Economic Madani speech in late July, followed by the National Energy Transition Roadmap in August, and followed by the new Industrial Master Plan 2030 on 1st of September, and subsequently the presentation of midterm review of the 12th Malaysia Plan, and last Friday, the Budget 2024. These 5 documents genuinely and also essentially outline the direction of this government, where this government put energy transition as a very important agenda. It is not going to be easy. It is not going to be easy because it involves changing the way we do things and changing the way we deal with major problems. Because one of the problems is subsidy. Okay, we have been we have lived with subsidies for the longest of time. But subsidy has become a major problem, major fiscal challenge, which is in last year, the government spent 50.8 billion ringgit on fuel subsidy. of which 20.9 billion was diesel subsidy. Actually, we don't use so much diesel. A lot went to smuggling. So the Prime Minister has indicated in the budget that diesel subsidy in phases will be reduced and taper off in phases. Subsequently, then only followed by petrol. I think this is the right move because diesel involves mainly commercial users, and then of course there are specific target audience. For example, fishermen and all this can be dealt with special arrangements, special targeted subsidies, or targeted quotas. But the point is, at least commercial users, some of them can absorb a bit and not passing on everything to the consumer, but also commercial users have a choice, that is to transition to greener energy. So you can see that in almost a year ago, when electricity prices went up for industries and also for the top users. Of course, we received a lot of complaints from Tan Sri Saw and also from everyone. But over the past few months, I think Tan Sri Saw would agree with me, and also many of you would agree with me that much as it's difficult, but we hear a lot more stories about people putting up solar. And with the METR, it is even more attractive to put up solar. I was talking to a firm, a reasonably big size firm recently, and they were telling me that they plan for a major investment on rooftop solar. They spent about 100 million ringgit. And initially, it took them, the initial calculation was it would take 5 years to get their returns. But after the electricity hike, 3.5 years. The point is, we will have to do, as a nation, we will have to do energy transition. I hope, today if I can share, I can give you these ideas that whatever you can take home, would be, this thing can happen in the context of green transition. That means we deal with subsidy, we deal with what they call the challenge of climate, but at the same time, we see green transition as an opportunity. So in this budget, there is this idea which was presented by MITI and accepted by Treasury and by the Prime Minister. It's a subsidy for Malaysians to buy EV bike. So if your household income is below 120,000 ringgit, and if you buy a EV bike, you get 2,400 ringgit rebate. Now this is just a start, and I hope this is the start of this packaging subsidy cut, fiscal discipline, and green transition together. That means moving forward, plus actually industrial development. Moving forward, if we can tie all this together, it will be a great opportunity for Malaysia, where we will have many more Malaysians not using ICE motorbike, but moving into using EV bike. Therefore, moving away from fuel subsidy, plus moving away from fuel itself. So that is our hope. And adding to that, create an EV industry. Because we are actually sitting on a sweet spot. We have an automotive industry, not as big as the Taiwan, but the Taiwan is predominantly a Japanese, Japanese investment. Ours, we have domestic players, we have a supply chain, we have domestic, parts and components producers. And we also have a very strong E&E industry. So EV is both a car and a computer. So the crossing of a car and a computer, and the crossing of the automotive industry and the E&E industry is where Malaysia has a lot of opportunity. So we are hoping that through this transition, the shift in thinking, we can create not just not just a transition, but actually we create new industries and new opportunities for Malaysia. I see that moving forward, there will be three major engines of growth for the Malaysian economy. The first engine of growth is what I call reindustrialization. Why reindustrialization? Because since China joined WTO in 2001, there was an extended period of time, at least 15, 17 years of time, in which we in Malaysia experienced premature deindustrialization. And we were one of the tigers. We were doing very well. We were industrializing, and we added a lot of manufacturing capacity between 1988 and 1998 or 97. But Asian financial crisis hit in 1997. 1998, Dr. Sri Anwar Ibrahim was sacked and jailed and set off a series of political crises. And in 2001, China joined WTO. Now, if you go back to Prime Minister's speech during Economic Madani, the speech, he mentioned, and this is one of the major challenges that we have to deal with. That means between 1988 and 1997, we had witnessed a period of time where investment was about 40% of GDP. But for the longest of time, in the last 20 years, last 25 years, investment was only about 20 to 25% of GDP. Which means we as an economy we have been dependent very much on consumption, on debt fuel consumption, on domestic consumption that is not necessarily sustainable. But now this is an opportunity. The opportunity is because of geopolitical challenges, because of de-risking, because of firms, particularly European firms and American firms, moving away from China, or at least leaving China to China, but broadening and, well, essentially not putting all manufacturing eggs in China and moving into either home shoring, back to the US, back to Europe, or French shoring, near shoring in Mexico or in Poland, in Eastern European countries, or French shoring in the case of, say, South Korea or in India, and at some point coming to Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia is prominently figured in this whole shift, and we are now seeing it. We are seeing it very. We have seen a lot of inquiries. We have also seen a lot of relocations. The first wave went to Vietnam in around 2017 because of tariff imposed by Trump, but also because of rising costs in China, particularly rising wages in China. But the second wave came into multiple shape, and it came into different parts of Southeast Asia. So we are seeing this, and I remember Mr. Wei was telling me that UOB is also interested and also doing a lot of supply chain financing. We are seeing whoever comes to talk to us, they no longer talk to us just about cost. I mean, in the last 15, 20 years, everyone come to you to ask whether you have cheap labor, whether you have what they call can provide me the number of labor. But people are now talking about supply chain resilience, supply chain security. And this is our opportunity for both Malaysian businesses at the bigger level and also for the SME. If we can be part of it, we are part of this reindustrialization opportunity. This is where this is one of the major engines for Malaysian economy. The second engine, which is also what was listed as one of the 4 missions in the new industrial master plan, which we call Tech Up. Now, in the new industrial master plan, there were 4 missions. We decided not to take a sectoral approach. We took a mission-based approach. There are 4 missions. The first mission is to increase complexity of our economy. The second mission is to tech up. I'll explain what I mean by tech up. The third mission is to push for net zero, and the fourth mission is economic security. So these are the 4 missions of the new industrial master plan. But I say the second engine for economic growth in Malaysia is what I call tech up. We have, for the longest of time, we have been dependent on unskilled foreign labor. We have been doing low productivity, low cost, low pay, you name it. But what we hope to see, and we are seeing it, that is to have a lot more automation, a lot more adoption of technology, a lot more digitalization, and also a lot more innovation. And Bank Negara, some of us, we call it tech up. We hope that this can be a second engine of growth that will drive Malaysia towards a higher wage. Yeah, I think a while ago, if you talk about higher wage, people look at you. But I think the other day I was at the FMM dinner, Tan Sri Saw was talking about higher wages. So give him a round of applause. And the third engine of growth is really green transition. Green transition comes in multiple form and shape. Whatever we know, whatever you're talking about today, but EV, the EV supply chain, solar, battery storage, but also now we are seeing new factories being put up for sustainable aviation fuel. I went to Kuching, I saw the algae farm for SAF. We are meeting people who come to talk to us about new fuel for shipping. All these are major transition that is happening in front of us, and I hope we together can seize the opportunity, and I congratulate UOB for organizing this event. This is a start particularly for SME, and I hope this is paving the way for a second economic takeoff for Malaysia. Thank you very much.